In this video, we will go through the other options that are available under our settings menu. Now, you may want to do this at the very beginning when you set up your site. Now, I've chosen to do this after we've created some content so that you can see the difference, once you have changed some of these settings. And we just start with the general. As you can see, is your site title. This would have been set up when you install WordPress. And then you can have a tagline. And okay, so if we go back to our main site, you will see that's going to change the information here, which is the name of the site. And you see it says just another WordPress site. Of course, you don't want your site to say that. And so that tagline will change that. For your WordPress address URL, and if you just basically read what it says here, is enter just here if you want your site homepage to be different from the directory you install WordPress. So if you want to go ahead and change, I really don't suggest that you mess about with this unless you know what you're doing. Okay, and just some more options to change, which are your contact email address, membership, anyone can register, it's totally up to you. The time zone, this will of course affect your posts. Whenever you make posts, then there's usually a timestamp as to when the posts have been created, and also when there are comments made on your site, and just other general information that may be affected by time. You can just customize this, enter your time zone, the date format, time, the day that the week starts on. Okay, and remember to save changes. And just remember, not all of these settings you'll be able to see the immediate effect of. If we go back to our home page and we refresh, now you will see that now it says WP Video Sidekick, how to become a WP Pro. And just keep in mind that if you use something like a header or a logo, then in some themes that information may be removed, or you may have the option to keep the text as an overlay on your logo or header. So the next setting here is writing, and most of these are self-explanatory. So we just go through formatting, convert emoticons like to graphics. So if you use your colons, if you want to create smiley faces, instead of them showing like this, they will show like real graphical smiley faces. And I'm just going to quickly go through these. Default post category. So if you wanted to change the default category so that, say for example, if most of my posts were going to be about football, and I could change this, so instead of having to change it each time I create a post, then that will be the case. And the same goes for the post format. If you're a video blogger, for example, and most of your posts are going to be video, you could set the standard post format to video. Alright, and there's an option here called press this, and basically it just allows you to grab text, images, etc. from surfing the web to help you if you wanted to publish as posts on your sites. And then there is the post via email. If you wanted to create those posts via email, then you'd have to set up an account, and the instructions are there, you can follow it. Update services. When you publish a new post, WordPress automatically notifies the following site update services. Now, for exposure, this is great. Basically, your posts, etc., will go through Ping-O-Matic, rpc.ping-o-matic, and this just notifies of the sites, search engines, that you have new content, and it helps to get your posts and pages indexed in search engines and builds exposure for your site. Okay, and okay, I'm going to stop here and pick up in another video. Okay, the next set of settings. Okay, we already looked at the reading settings, so we can go ahead and take a look at the discussion settings, because we looked at the reading settings when we were looking at configuring our blog as a static site or a blog. Okay, so for default article settings on the discussion, this controls basically comments and trackbacks and spam on your site. So you should pay attention to this if you're going to allow comments on your site. Attempt to notify any blogs linked from the article, and basically if you link to a site, another site, when you make posts or pages, then WordPress will basically notify these sites. It's basically self-explanatory. We want to allow link notifications from other blogs, it's pingbacks and trackbacks. And basically what will happen is if other websites link to your site, then you would receive a notification similar to when a comment is left, and if you accept the pingbacks or trackbacks, then this will be displayed on the particular post or page that has been linked to say that another site has linked to it. And basically you can, this next option, allow people to post comments on new articles. If you untick this box, then basically you are disallowing comments on your website. And it does say that these settings may be overridden for individual articles. So you could set it generally here, but for specific articles you could change this. And basically you can just go through these. Comment author must fill out name and email, which you want to do. Users must be registered and logged into comment. Automatically close comments on articles after 14 days. You can change the amount of time for this. Enable threaded nested comments, and this will basically affect whether your comments on your site, if you have a lot of comments, will for example, if persons respond to other comments, just how many levels they can go. Break comments into pages. So if you have a lot of comments, if you can set an amount that will be displayed on each page, so that your comments will go on into infinity on one page. They will be broken up into separate pages, and then you can display the order for comments, whether older comments or newer comments are shown first, and you can opt to receive a notification whenever anyone posts a comment. And if you get a lot of comments on your site, I will warn you, you will get a lot of notifications. But if you want to control spam, then it's something you will have to look into. And the next option is to comment. Email me whenever a comment is held for moderation, and before a comment appears, comment must be manually approved. Comment author must have a previous approved comment. Now you really have the option to just customize these: allow, disallow, hold a comment in the queue if it contains 2 or more links. So generally a lot of persons will place comments on your site to get backlinks to their site, and now usually they have an option to place a website when they enter their name and email, and that will create a link. But additionally they may put links into their comments, and personally I put this to 0, so any links at all. I just don't want people to be linking to anywhere from my site. It can be bad for SEO, and you leave yourself open to a lot of spam. And the comment blacklist, if you find that you have a particular set of emails, IPs, URLs usernames that are spamming your site, you can just put a list there, and WordPress will automatically block those. And for avatars, you can set the settings whether you want to show avatars, and the rating for avatars, and the default icon if the person does not have an avatar. And just remember to save the changes if you make any. And we've already covered media permalinks, so media is the next one that we would look at. And basically you can, the WordPress thumbnail size, I mentioned earlier that when you upload images, especially larger images, WordPress will create multiple sizes, and these are the default sizes. And you can change this, but I mean really, unless you have specific reasons to do this and you know what you're doing, then you probably don't want to change this. So that's it for the settings. Like I said, you can do this at the very beginning before you start to build content on your site, but I purposely built the site first so that whatever changes were made, you'll be able to see them once you made adjustments to your settings. So that's it for the settings. Okay, so in this video I'm going to cover how we can change the theme on our website. And basically themes control the overall look, the appearance of our website. And so the header, the sidebars, the graphics, all these things, the fonts. And some themes add additional functionality to your site, and it's quite easy to change it. So if we go back to our dashboard, and to do this, to change it, we go to appearance and themes, and there are a couple of ways that we can change our theme. Now we select add new, and we basically have some settings here as a search function, and this applies to the WordPress repository. Now at wordpress.org there are thousands, literally thousands of themes that are available for free for you to download. So you can, if you know the name of the theme that you're looking for, or a specific, say if you're looking for a theme that is responsive, you could type that there. And also you can filter out the search results by looking for themes with specific colors, number of columns, layout, features, subject. Okay, so, and you can also go ahead and check the featured themes, and you can look at themes based on the newest themes, or themes that have been recently updated. Okay, so if I'm just going to go to the newest, and all the themes that you will select from this repository are open source, GPL, under a GPL license, so you are free to use them and do basically whatever you want with them. And this is one of the safest places to get themes. Unfortunately, there are people out there who give away free themes with the intention of adding malicious code, viruses, etc. to your site. But all the themes that have been uploaded to the WordPress repository have been checked, and they have to go through a rigorous, set of qualifications before they can get there. So you can feel pretty safe downloading themes from there. So just keep in mind that if you go and say you search in Google and you look for free themes, that you have to be very careful as to who you get these themes from. Just ensure that they're a trusted theme developer and you're not putting malicious code on your website. Okay, so I'm just going to just pick a random theme here just to show you what it would look like, and you'll just get kind of a preview here of what the theme will look like on your site. And you can just select install, and then you have the option to look at a live preview with your current content. And you also have, and this is something that we can look at into more detail. To customize your site, you can just very quickly from here to change some of this information that we saw in our settings and our navigation. So you could change the menu that you use if you had more than one custom menu, and your static front page, etc. Okay, now we can just activate this theme, and if we go back to our home page and we refresh, then we will see that the look and feel of our site has totally changed. And that's how easy it is to install a theme from the repository. In the next video, I'll show you how you can also install a theme from zip files. And this, of course, is if you purchase a theme, or even if you get a free theme and you download it, then I'll show you how you can do this as well. Okay, so now we can look at installing a theme from zip files, and the process is similar. If we go back to Appearance, Themes, Add New, and then we would select Upload, and as you can see, there's just a little message that says install a theme in zip format. Okay, so it has to be in a zip format. So wherever you get your theme from, whether you've paid for it or it's free, then it needs to be in a zip format. And what will happen is that WordPress will unzip it. Now, if you're not familiar with zipping, it just means that the files are compressed, and that just makes it easier to upload to your site, makes it faster, and then WordPress will automatically unzip it and install the file. So I'm just going to go ahead and we choose our file, and you'll be able to select it from your hard drive, and then just select install now. And then you just have the message that says theme installed successfully, and again you can do a live preview. We can just go ahead and activate it. And you just have some information here from theme author, and this will change depending on the type of theme or where you get your theme from. And if we just go back now to our site and refresh, then again you will see that the complete look of our site has changed. And this particular theme has, this is a premium theme, and it does come with some additional features it has a custom homepage, etc. And I'm not going to get into the customization of the theme, but just to show you that there are some themes, in particular premium themes, that, as you can see, our website now basically looks, bare bones. You just seen, because some additional configuration needs to be done. So we just basically would have just gone through the options. It comes with a customized homepage, with specific settings, a featured area, etc., etc. So that's something you would have to go ahead and do. But just for the purpose of this video, I just wanted to show you how easy it was to install the theme through zip files. Okay, so just a quick follow-up to the last video. Whenever we install themes, then to go ahead and customize them, you just have to go back to Appearance and Themes, and usually there will be a link right here that says Customize. And what this option allows you to do is actually to change the information here, and you will see a live preview on the right hand side. So if we were to change this to and you would see it change here. So let me change it back. And so on. So you can change things like the site title. It may differ slightly depending on the particular thing, and that's why I said I didn't want to get into a video about theme settings, because it can vary so much depending on the theme that you're using. You see, this particular theme has 3 different sections for a menu. So you could put your menu in the top bar, the header, or the footer, and then it has the options for the static front page. Okay, well, we don't want to change any of this, but if we just go back, then another way that you can access the same option is to go to Appearance and then Customize. And you'll be able to do the same. Now, some themes will have some additional options. We close this. That may not be available from that screen. And to access it, usually you would see the name of the theme somewhere along the left hand side, or theme or a tab that says theme options. So in this case, this theme, even though it's called Business Canvas, it's from the Chimera themes. That's the name of the developer. So you'll be able to access additional theme options. Which you wouldn't have been able to access in the previous page, because, for example, this has a custom home page, and you'd just be able to make changes there. And additionally, sometimes you may find it under the Settings tab. You may find the theme settings directly under the Settings tab under the drop-down menu. So that's just a quick video just to inform you. Oh, and just one more thing. In some themes, once you activate the theme, you will have to go in and adjust your menus, your custom menus, depending on the theme, and to adjust the location of your menu. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is look at how we can install plugins on our site. And I'll just go To do this, we go to plugins, and plugins are additional bits of code or software that just extend the functionality of our site. You can do anything from adding a support desk to adding social media. There are video plugins, just about anything that you can think of, there's a plugin for it. And there are some default plugins that would be installed, and just as there were default themes that were installed. And Akismet is just an anti-spam plugin. It's free for basic blog. So if you do allow comments on the site, this may be something that you'd be interested in. Hello Dolly is another plugin that comes pre-installed. Usually I don't use these, however I have other options that I use for anti-spam. So, and it's a good practice that if you're not using plugins on your site, that you delete them, because they can conflict with each other and cause your site to do some crazy stuff or slow down the processing time of your site. So if you find lags, and of course there are security issues if you're not using a plugin, then you may not update it as regularly as you should because you're not using it. But even if the plugin is not being used, it still may present some vulnerability issues. So if you're not using a plugin, I just advise that you just go ahead and delete it, and all you have to do is just select and delete and apply. Okay? But to add a new plugin, it's really quite simple. It's very similar to adding themes, and you just select add new, and we will see a similar search button that will just allow you to search for the particular plugin. So like I said, there are so many things. If you need a Facebook plugin to help share your posts and pages, there are plugins for WordPress, which is a social media functionality that you can add to for email, for images, for sidebars, shortcodes, YouTube. There's just so many options. These are some of the more popular categories, so if you need something in particular, you just go ahead and say you want to have a dig plugin to help share your posts. Then you just type that in, and you will be presented with a list of plugins. The wonderful thing about this is that the plugins will have ratings beside them, which other WordPress users have used too. So these plugins with the darker stars, have received great reviews from other users. And all you'd have to do is you can check out, this is just a brief description of the plugin, and all you have to do is just select install now and just confirm that you want to install the plugin, and it really is as simple as that, and the plugin will be installed. And depending on the plugin and what it does, then you'll be presented with some options. And this is of course after you activate the plugin, because you can have plugin installed and not activated. So pardon me, if you just activate it, then usually there will be a link back to the plugin site, so you could find out more about the plugin. And this will link back to either wordpress.org or individual website, and similar to the theme, then there'll be an option on the left hand side for you to configure the plugin if there are settings, and sometimes these options may appear under the settings, so it really does vary depending on what the plugin does. Okay, so in the next video I'll show you how to install a plugin from a zip file. In the last video we looked at adding plugins to our site from the WordPress repository, and another way that we can add plugins is from a zip file. So if you have a premium plugin, or if you downloaded a plugin from anywhere other than the repository and you have it in a zip file, then you would just go plugins, add new, and go to upload. Choose file, and then you would just locate it wherever it is on your PC or your Mac, and I have this plugin on my desktop, WP Options, and I will just install. And then again, like I said, whenever the plugin is installed, you will have the option to activate, and then from there you can configure the additional settings if there are any. Right, so once that is done, the uploading of the plugin, you can just activate your plugin, and this particular plugin actually asks for a license key. But you get the gist of how it is to add a plugin. I'm not going to add my license key in this video, of course. And so, like I said, this would fall under the additional configuration or settings once you've activated the plugin. But that's just how simple it is. If you have a plugin from a zip file, and based on the plugin, you'd know what to do next. So that's how you get it into your site. Now we will take a look at widgets, and essentially what widgets are additional areas outside of our main content area, such as on our poster page, and it allows us to put additional content or functionality in these areas. Now, the most popular areas for widgets are the sidebar, so this recent posts, recent comments, archives. Categories are in fact widgets, and the footer area is another popular area for widgets, and sometimes you can find widgets in our header area, and it really does depend on the theme that you are using, or sometimes a plugin can add additional widget areas. Now, to change this, just go back to our admin area, go to appearance and select widgets, and on the left hand side we will see a list of the available widgets, and on the right hand side you'll see the areas where you can put these widgets. So if you remember, on our main site we had our search function, or recent posts, recent comments, archives, categories, and metadata. Okay, so this particular theme has 1, 2, 3 areas that we can place widgets: the primary sidebar, content sidebar, and the footer widget area. Now, to add a widget to any of these areas, we can simply drag the widget from the available widget section and drop it in the area where we want the widget to go. And once we do that, we will see some additional options depending on the widget to customize that widget, such as we can add a title, and in this case for the calendar, that's basically all that we can do. And then we would save it, and we can close that. And to just edit the settings of any of these widgets, just simply select this drop down arrow, and you, of course, you see the option to delete the widget, so you can remove the widget from the area. Now I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to delete this widget. I am going to remove the archives widget, the metadata widget, the categories widget, and I want to add a custom menu widget. And the popular widgets will appear here are your archives, your calendar, your custom menu, pages, and they're pretty self-explanatory, and they have a bit of blurb below them to tell you what it's about. And these are default, they come with pretty much every theme that you have, but some themes will have additional widget options, and depending on some of the plugins that you may have installed, you will see additional widgets or options for your widgets. Okay, and like I said, a description will be displayed below these widgets. And another way that you can add a widget, let me just say that, is to click on the widget, because sometimes dragging and dropping the widget into your widget area, for example, let me cancel this. If you had a long list of widgets and you're at the very bottom here, and you have to drag this widget, and you have to scroll up to the top to find, say, this widget area, then it can be sort of a pain. So if you click on the widget, then you will just see an option as to where you can put the widget. So for example, if I wanted to put a custom menu in the footer widget area, then I just hover over it, select it, and then add widget, and the widget would go inside that area. And then I could just go in, select the menu. In this case, I only have one menu, so I just save there. And to change the order of your widgets, you can just simply hover over it until you see this icon appear that looks like a cross, and you can just drag and drop, and that's really how easy it is to change around the order of your widgets. And at the very bottom you'll see an area that says inactive widgets. Now widgets will appear here if you put them there for one. So for example, if you have a particular widget that you have configured and you don't want to use it, you can place it in your inactive widget, but you don't necessarily want to delete it because you may want to use it in the future. So you can put it under inactive widgets. Also, sometimes widgets will appear in the inactive widgets area if, for example, you change your theme and the new theme doesn't have a sidebar or widget area similar to the previous theme, and so WordPress doesn't know exactly where to put the widget based on the old configurations into your new theme. So it may just place those widgets in the inactive widgets. So the last thing is just to save, and then we can go over to our site and we can look at the changes. So if we just refresh our site, and you will see that our metadata has been removed, and we have added our custom menu on the left sidebar as well as in the footer area. Now, of course, this doesn't look as nice as I'd want it to, but it's just something for you to test out and drag and drop and chop and change until you're satisfied with how these widgets are displayed on your site. Okay. In this video, I just want to look at users and how we can edit user profiles, how we can create new users, and some of the functionalities that are available to users. Now, if you look in the top right hand corner, you will see howdy DHWPVS. And this is just a name that I've assigned to the user, that level that I am logged in as, which is an admin user, and I can go in and edit my profile. And in this area, I'll be able to do things like disable the visual editor when writing. I can change the color scheme. Right now it's using default, but I could go ahead and select something like coffee, and you will see that the color scheme has changed. Let me put it back to the default. You can enable keyboard shortcuts for comment moderation, show toolbar when viewing sites, and this is what happens when we're currently logged in. That's that bar that appears at the very top that I spoke about. And in this area you can just add some additional information, and this information will affect your author information when you create posts. So if I put my name there, and then I can create a nickname, Johnny, or I can put Jack, and then I'll have the option to display a name publicly that may be separate or different or a shortened version of my full name. So for example, I could put Jack for my posts and pages, or I could put my full name, John Brown, and we can also change our contact information here, put a link back to our website, some additional bio information, and in this area we can also go ahead and change our password that we use to log in. And all you simply have to do is just put in a new password, repeat the new password, and then update the profile. Now the next thing I want to look at, and if you just look at the top here, you will see that now it is saying John Brown instead of DHVPS, which was showing before, because this is what I've selected to show as my public name. But the next thing we want to look at is under the users tab. You see users. We can view all the users that are on our site, and you can see there's only one, which is me. And you can just see the row, which is administrator. And if we go to add new, we can add additional users based on the levels. Now, let me just give you an idea of what the particular, of course you would put the username, email, first name, last name, etc. and create a password. But what's actually most important is the role of this user. Okay, so at the very highest, which is the administrator, let me start with that one. And the administrator can do everything on the website. They can add posts, pages, edit posts and pages, and change additional functionality, change themes, plugins, and like I said, do just about everything. An editor would not have access to change plugins and themes and other such functionality, but they would be able to add content such as posts and pages and edit the content of other users. Okay, an author would be able to add content such as posts, but would only be able to edit that content that they have created. So they wouldn't be able to edit other authors' content. An editor could do that, but not an author. A contributor would be able to create content. So a contributor could create a post. So for example, if you have a guest blogger who you allow to create a blog post on your site, they'll be able to create the post, but the post would remain unpublished until either an editor or an administrator approves it. And last but not least is the role of a subscriber, and the subscriber is basically only able to view content that has been created on your site. Okay? A subscriber would not be able to create content or edit content. They'd just be able to view. Okay? So, depending on the type of site you're running, you may want to have multiple authors to create content on your site. You may want an additional administrator to do maintenance and updates. Or if you just have, say, a membership site, you'd want to allow subscribers to be able to access your content. Okay, and that's it for users. In the next set of videos, I just want to quickly take a look at the security issue. And let me first of all say that WordPress itself, as in the software, is inherently safe. And when you have a WordPress site, it's not that it's more prone to being hacked than any other type of CMS. But the reality is that it's because of the popularity of WordPress and its growth and the fact that it powers so many millions of sites on the internet, then what you find is that there are a lot of instances of security breaches and hacks. But again, like I said, it's not to say that WordPress gets hacked more than any other CMS such as Drupal or Joomla. In fact, many people argue that WordPress is in fact a lot safer than these other platforms. But the reality is that just based on the mere popularity, because the reality is that it's unlikely that a hacker is going to hack a site that is not popular. It's very unlikely. So a couple of things that you have to look out for to keep your site secure are as follows. The first thing I recommend is that you have WordPress installed manually. Now, your hosting account, especially if you have cPanel, will most likely come with an automatic installer, such as Fantastica Deluxe, Softaculous, and Auto Installer, and similar software services. Now, it's not that these installers are insecure, but the way that they install WordPress is very predictable. And what happens is that hackers are aware of the way that they in fact install. So things like using a default username such as admin, using basic names for your WordPress database when you're using, for example, and this is a little technical, and don't worry about it if you don't quite understand. But WordPress uses databases, MySQL database to be exact, and usually these are created automatically in your cPanel. And the reality is that a lot of these auto installers just create something in the database name, such as database 01 or database 02, and so on in that order. And things like that, it's very easy to once it's predictable, hackers basically have a head start in terms of doing abuse to your site. So even if you do use auto installers, because some of them I know, for example, Softaculous does allow you to change the username, the default username, and some other fields. So the more unique you can make your installation, which is what a manual installation does, is the better off you will be. And the reality is that even if you do use an auto installer or have used an auto installer, there are still ways to keep your site secure. But it's just that my recommendation, and personally how I install WordPress, is to always start with a manual installation. Okay, so we'll just cover a couple of other things that you should be aware of in the next set of videos. The next thing that I want to look at when we look at securing your website is the use of your passwords. Of course, every time you log into the back end of your site, going through your admin area, you need to use a password. Now, you need to ensure that your passwords are unique. So, for example, I especially discourage you from using the same password that you use for your WordPress login to be the same password that you use for your hosting account, the same password that you use for email. Because let's face it, the reality is that we don't like to have to remember a million different passwords. It's very difficult. We choose passwords for things that are easy to remember, and so we tend to reuse these passwords. But the reality is that if someone finds out the password for your email and you use one password for all your logins, then what will happen is that now they have access to your email, they have access to your site, they have access to your hosting, and that creates a lot of issues. So we really have to, of course, avoid using the same password for multiple logins, and also you have to ensure that you use unique and difficult passwords that are easy to guess. So you want to avoid using passwords like the name of your dog, or your middle name, or your street address, or your children's birth date, things like that. You really need to avoid, using passwords like that, because those are easy to guess, and hackers will. You have to understand that security does start with you, and you have to be responsible for your passwords, and you have to also be careful about who you share your passwords with. And another thing is that you should update your passwords, change them fairly regularly, every 3 months or something like that. And I know you must be saying to yourself, how can I possibly, remember all these passwords and create unique passwords, without writing them down, and now I have the issue where I've written down the passwords, and if somebody gets to that, bit of paper or spreadsheet, wherever you've gotten the passwords recorded, then now they have access to all your information. Well, one solution that I personally use is called LastPass, and you may have seen me using it throughout this video course, where it installs right inside your browser, and it's compatible with most of the major browsers. I'm using Google Chrome, and I have it installed now, and basically what it does is that once you have an account, and it's free to use, there is a premium version, but chances are you may not need to use it. But there are some great additional features, and I'm not making any money by recommending this. It's just something I use for myself, and what essentially happens is that each time you log in, and you may be familiar with this because most browsers will try to do this, where once you log in to your email or any other site that requires a username and a password, then your browser will ask you to save this information. I don't recommend at all that you use your browsers, because, you know, there are a lot of, apart from, you know, the individual conditionalities of using different browsers and their terms and all that stuff, the reality is that if you go to a computer that is not yours, then you don't have access to all these passwords. And the great thing about LastPass is that you can easily install it and uninstall it, you know, from to any browser, and you can set up security and fail-safe, so that once you log in, so for example, if you were to use a friend's computer and forget to log out, you can set it up that once you log in to your computer, then the previous access will be logged out. So things like that. So like I said, it is free. It's a wonderful tool, and as you can see here, if you look at this login screen, you see a number 2 here. So I have 2 logins for this particular for this particular site. So if I just click on the symbol there, then I can easily just select the user that I want to use, and it will enter the username and password, and I can just log in. So I never have to enter a password, and this is particularly useful if you're logging in outside of your home, which I really don't recommend. Let me just log back out. I really don't recommend that you use free Wi-Fi to log into important areas like your website. You know, it is prone, you don't know who else is on the network, you're prone to being hijacked. You know, persons could be just looking over your shoulder, looking at your passwords. A great thing about this is that you don't have to type in the password. The only password you will have to remember is the LastPass password. So you just have to remember one very secure password, and LastPass will do the rest. And it also has a lot of other great features, such as it can store other information that you may need to fill out forms. So if you sign up for a lot of stuff online, you know, it's great for that. So I do recommend it. And like I said, it's free. And there's a premium version, and one of the features of the premium version is that if you have outsourcers and you need them to work on your site, then you don't have to give them the password to your site. You can set them up as a user, share the password, they'll be able to log in using the LastPass, but not actually have to get the password. And then of course it's very easy to just change your passwords afterwards anyway. And another great thing that LastPass does is it generates secure passwords. So you never need to use a password like your dog's name or your children's birth dates. You know, it's just really secure password. So I really recommend that you check that tool out. The next thing that you always want to do, and I've mentioned this before, you know, in previous videos, you know, is to always update. Pay attention to your updates, whether it be, of course, unfortunately I don't have any updates here to show you, but whenever you see this area update pops up, you know, whether it be to update WordPress itself, plugins, themes, you should always try and do it as quickly as possible. The great thing about WordPress is that it has a wonderful community of users and developers who create fantastic plugins and themes and are continually testing the WordPress software itself. So any vulnerabilities or you know, breaches are usually picked up pretty quickly, and the fixes are normally presented in updates, whether it be for WordPress itself or for a particular plugin or for a particular theme. And the great thing is that you know, most of these updates are one click. You just need to click the update button and you're safe, because what happens is that if you don't update your plugins, your themes or WordPress, then what happens is that these vulnerabilities are known to hackers, and once they determine that you have an old version of a theme or a plugin, then they know exactly how to get into your site. So just pay attention to updates. And another thing for you to always, do is whenever you are not using a particular plugin or a theme, make sure you deactivate it, and not only just deactivate it, but delete it. If you're not using it, then remove it from your site, because there's still the possibility of there being vulnerabilities even if you're not using it. So just try and always keep your site up to date and only use what you need to use, because the reality is we are talking about software, and software will have bugs from time to time. It's just a part of how software is, and particularly with WordPress and all the different plugins and theme developers. A lot of these people are independent of the core persons who create WordPress itself, so you can have clashes. And like I said, this isn't unique to WordPress, but the great thing about it's actually a plus, is that usually vulnerabilities are identified pretty quickly and can be fixed with an update. So always try and keep your site up to date. Something else that's really important in ensuring that your site is kept safe is to, generally speaking, avoid downloading themes and plugins that are being offered for free that are otherwise premium themes and plugins. I know you may go to Google and you may see links to sites that that are offering you free downloads for like I said, plugins and themes that basically the developers are selling, and you have to be careful. Now, I'm not saying that they're all bad, but one of the reasons that people do this, and it's not necessarily illegal either, depending on the license for the particular plugin or theme, but one of the reasons that people give away themes, and if you think about it, if it's a paid plugin or a theme, why is this person giving it away for free? And one of the reasons that they do this is to implant malicious code onto your site, and in some cases it may be as harmless as hiding a backlink to one of their sites, but it could also be backlinks to sites that such as porn or sites with illegal downloads that would not do well for your search engine optimization. So you have to be careful of that. And then it could be as extreme as code that tracks your keystrokes and records your password, and then later on you try to log into your site and it's been taken over completely by a hacker. So that's something you have to be careful of. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about in terms of securing your site is that you should always keep regular backups of your WordPress site, and that's your database, your files. Keep regular backups. If you use your site pretty regularly in terms of updating content, then you may need to update it as frequently as every day. Usually once a week would be fine for most people, but it really is up to you depending on how often you use your site. Because like I've mentioned a lot of things that you can do to protect your site, but the reality is that there's no foolproof method for any platform, and WordPress is no exception, for persons to hack into your site. If they're determined enough, if they have enough resources, you see sites, some big name sites online get hacked all the time. Government sites, and these sites will have far better security measures than you probably would have on your site, and these sites have been hacked. So a great thing to have is a good backup of your site that you can restore, so that as soon as you find that your site is down, you can get in contact with your hosting company, or just erase all the malicious code, change your passwords, and then you can install a clean version of your site, but something that's up to date so that you don't lose a lot of your content that you've worked so hard to create. So in the next video I'm actually going to look at and show you, there are many ways to do this, many plugins. You can do this for your hosting account, but I'm just going to show you one quick way to do it in the next video. In this video we are going to use a free plugin called backwp to back up our site, and to do this we just select plugin and add new, and we search for backwp up, search plugins, and it should be the first one there, backwp up free WordPress backup plugin. And we're going to use this plugin to back up to Dropbox. Dropbox is a free cloud storage service, and the reason we want to back up to Dropbox is, well, really two reasons. Number one is that Dropbox, when we back up to Dropbox, it's on its own separate server, because sometimes when your site gets hacked, or if your site is down, maybe an attack on your entire server and not just your site. So if you're backing up to, and if we just activate the plugin, and if you're backing up to your own server and your server goes down, then you'd be in big trouble because you've lost your site and you've lost your backups. The second reason why I like to back up to Dropbox is that Dropbox has a desktop app that allows you to synchronize whatever you have in their cloud storage platform straight to your PC. So you'll have it backed up online and you have it backed up on your PC. And there is a free option with Dropbox. You get up to 2 GB free, and there is also the option to upgrade, and you can also increase the storage, your free storage, by referring friends. And I'll just give you a link where you can sign up and get some free storage just for signing up through that link, apart from the 2 GB. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and start to use backwp up, and the first thing we want to do is select jobs, and then we are going to just click jobs, and then we're going to add a new job. And the first tab we have is the General tab. So you want to name the job for your purposes. I'm just going to call this My Backup. Then the next thing is the job tasks, and this is just where you determine what you back up, and the defaults are fine, your database of files, and the installed plugins list. And the next thing we look at is the archive name, which just creates a timestamp. This default is fine, you don't need to adjust this. The next thing is the archive formats, and this is just the method of compression so that your backups will be faster, because as you can imagine, you're backing up your entire site, so you can use a zip, a tar zip, or a tar bzip2. Now the default is fine, so you can just leave it as is. And the next thing that we will look at is the job destination, and this is, of course, where you would send the backup to, and you can back up to a folder, backups by email, backup to FTP. As I mentioned, we're going to back up to Dropbox for reasons that I mentioned before, but you can also send to email, Amazon S3, SugarSync, all the other options are there. And you can use more than one option, but I prefer just to use Dropbox to keep it simple. And email, the next thing is our log files, and email is required. And you'll just receive an email if there are errors during job execution. Okay, so this just is to ensure that everything goes okay. The next thing that we would look at is the schedule tab. We just go back up, and you want to select with WordPress cron, and this just uses a feature within your hosting account to utilize automatic backups. Next thing is the type. You want to select basic, and then now you have the scheduler. So you have the option to backup daily, hourly, weekly, monthly. Now, weekly will be fine for most people, and this really is up to you, depending on how often you update your site. And if you really require daily or hourly backups, as in you need to back up that often because you're adding content that often, then you may actually need to look at the premium option. Now, on the weekly and the time, you see the 3 for the hour just means 3 a.m. and you can do it at 3:25 or 3:30, whatever it is. I find that Sunday at this time, 3 a.m. in the morning is a good time. You probably don't have a lot of visitors on your site. And just one thing to note is that if you use this plugin for a lot of your sites, then you want to stagger the backup times so that you don't overload your server. So the next tab is our database backup. And these are the WordPress tables that are included. You really don't need to change this at all. So we can move on to our next tab, which is our files. And here you can determine what files you include or exclude. Again, the default is fine. But for example, you may want to exclude themes from your backups, because you should be easily able to restore your themes either from the repository, or if you bought a theme, you should be able to get the download back pretty easily. One thing you may choose to do is just maybe back up the current theme that you're using. Okay, so the next tab that we look at is the plugins tab. And this just creates a file with the names of all your plugins and whether or not they were activated. And this will just take the name of your site. And in terms of file compression, you can leave it at none because it just creates a small text file with a list of plugins. So we can next look at the Dropbox tab. And this is specific because we chose to use Dropbox. So if I just jump over to Dropbox, and I'm just going to go over and log in. And like I said, Dropbox is absolutely free. So I'm going to log in because we will need to authenticate with Dropbox using their API to ensure that this process works seamlessly. So we're going to use re-authenticate full Dropbox. We're not going to use the sandbox option. We're going to use the full Dropbox option. And just for the backup settings, the folder that will be used in Dropbox is WP Video Sidekick. That's defaulted based on the name. The file deletion. Okay, this allows you to choose a number of files that you keep in the folder. Now, by default, it is 15. And since I'm updating weekly, this means that I have 15 weeks of backups inside my folder. Now, I don't need this many backups because, you know, if your site goes down, you probably know in a couple of days or a couple of weeks. So I will choose a number like 4, which means I'll have 4 weeks, which is a full month of backups. But it really is up to you. You can choose how many backups that you need. Just keep in mind that all the backups will be deleted once you reach this number. So we can go ahead now and authenticate. And this will take us over to the Dropbox site. And since I'm already logged in, I will see the screen. And we just need to click allow to authenticate. And if you weren't logged in, you'd be asked to log in, and then you could click allow. So once you see the sign that says authenticated, then we're pretty much finished. You want to save all your changes. Make sure you save all your changes. And the next thing you want to do is to do a run now, to test it, to make sure that everything works. And this shouldn't take long, so I'm just going to run it right now. Right now our site is quite small, so it shouldn't take much time. And you will see where the plugin is getting to work, and what's happening is that it is copying our sites based on the specifications that we made. And now two things are actually happening. It is backing up our site to Dropbox online in the cloud storage, and it's also backing up to our desktop because I have the app installed, which synchronizes. So it's just about finished. It shouldn't take much longer. Right, so there we go, 100%. And if there were any problems, you would receive an error message, to say exactly what went wrong. In this case, everything went perfectly fine. And if you just look to the bottom of my screen, you will see that it's now been synchronized with my PC. So I have a copy now on my PC, which I can use, which is safe. I can, again, if I wanted to back this up somewhere else, like on a thumb drive or external hard drive, I can do that. And it's also at our Dropbox folder online. There you go, in the folder we assigned. So there we go. Now you have automatic backups for your site, so you can sleep knowing that your site is continuously being backed up automatically. So that is it for this tutorial. In the next set of videos, we are going to take a look at a plugin called Page Builder by Site Origin. This plugin will allow you to effortlessly and easily create content on your site with drag and drop ease, with the use of widgets and the ability to add columns. And it's really a fantastic plugin. And the reason I'm recommending this plugin to you is that, if you've been using the WordPress WYSIWYG editor for any amount of time, you realize that it is not as easy to use. It is pretty easy to use, but whenever you're trying to create complex bits of content, it doesn't quite work, as in what you see isn't always what you get. And I've found that this particular plugin has just filled the gap, where the regular editor has fallen short. So without further ado, let me just go and it is a free plugin. So if you just go plugins and add new, it's available in the WordPress repository, and just type in Page Builder. It should be the first one on the list. Page Builder by Site Origin. Just install now. Click OK. Activate the plugin. And what you will notice is that when you go to create either posts or pages, And I'm just going to create a new page, and I'll call it page builder. Then you will see, in addition to the visual and text tabs, there's a new tab that's called page builder. Once you click on that tab, you realize that basically you'll be able to create content on a grid by using building blocks. And by default there will be one block there, and just to add additional blocks, you can add columns. So you can add 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns. You just add, and you'd be able to just drop content inside these columns, and you'll be able to create the content in exactly the way that you see it here. And it's really easy to delete pardon me, a building block once you've created it, and to move them around just by dragging and dropping. So if you wanted to create another 2 columns, then by default it will be added right below. And it's very simple to add a widget and just place it inside these blocks. And the beautiful thing is that because it uses widgets, it's so easy to add content. So you will see a lot of the widgets that you're already familiar with: pages, text, metadata, recent posts, custom menus. And there'll also be some additional widgets like embedded video, self-hosted video, animated images, buttons, price boxes, etc. And there are more widgets that you can add, because just about any plugin that you add to your site that uses a widget will be populated in this area. So you're really only limited by your imagination as to the types of layouts and the type of content that you can create using Page Builder. So it does actually come with an additional set of recommended plugins and widgets. So if you just click on that button, and just a couple of useful widgets that it recommends: Black Studio Tiny MC widget, for example. Usually for creating content, the default is the text widget, and of course it's difficult to create content using this widget unless you know HTML. But what this widget does is that it basically puts the WYSIWYG editor inside a widget for you to create content just as you would. And the other is a slider, price table widget, and masonry widget. So I'm just going to pause this video and install these. You just need to click install now and install all of these widgets. Okay, so I've activated all the recommended widgets. So in the next video I'm going to show you how you can build beautiful content using this plugin. In this video I'm going to show you how to build a custom page with a fairly involved layout, and I'm actually at the site origin homepage, and this is of course the company that builds the Page Builder plugin. And basically what we're going to do is create a design like you see in a lot of business sites. So basically you have a slider which you can click forward and backwards, and you have something of like a little announcement here which clicks onto their theme portfolio, and then you have 3 columns with just basically showcases what they do. They offer free WordPress themes, powerful plugins, help and support, and they do have some nice plugins, so you can go and check it out. But like I said, what we're trying to do is to replicate this layout, not to build it exactly like this, but to replicate the layout. So we go to a dashboard and we just add a new page. and I'm just going to name this page home because I want to use it as a home page, as a landing page. So this is what I want customers to see the first time they visit my site. Go over to the page builder tab, and this first column here, we are going to, this first row, pardon me, we're going to just add a widget, and we're going to add the slider. Now in the interest of time, I went ahead and added the slides and created a slider. Because what this widget does is basically when you go to the meta slider options, which is on the left hand side there, you create the slide, you name the slide, and when you come to this widget, you just select it by name. So my slider is called new slider, so I'll just drop that there, and what I need is another row. I just want it to be one column, and this would be for basically our announcement. I'm going to add a widget, and I'm going to use the visual editor because I want to add text, and this is where we just put the bit that says we build free themes. So I'll just go on ahead and prepare the text, just to save time. So I'm just gonna center that, and just gonna make this, use a heading tag, heading 2, just to make it stand out. And actually I want this one to be a little smaller, so I'm going to use heading 3, and add a link, of course, to our portfolio page. Wherever, let's open it in a new window. So whatever you want to link to, it's just simple adding a link. So we're done there. And as you can see, I actually put it in the wrong row, this widget, but it's easy to move. You just click and drag. So now it's where I want it to be. I want it to be separate from the slider. And just one more row. I need a row. And then this is where I'm going to put my 3 columns. I'll add it there. And just to ensure that you add the widget to the right row, you need to put your cursor over the area, and when it turns blue or light blue like this, then you know you're in the right area. And then we're going to add the widget, and again I need the visual editor, and let me just go back to my text, and I'm just going to say check out all our products. But above that, I want to put a little icon like you saw on the page. So this is as simple as adding media. And I've already added the images. So for that first one that says check out all products, then I'll use this as a gear icon. So I'll insert that into the page. And I want this to be at the very top. Just going to center it. And then I'll put back my text. And then I'm done. And the wonderful thing that you can do, so instead of doing this 3 times for each of the columns, I can just duplicate this, and I can just drag it over, and again I can duplicate, drag it over. So instead of having to select the widget again, and then all I have to do is go in, and then I am going to change the icon to the about icon. Done it again. Just cut. And then for the text, just a little bit about the business. Then I'm done, and then I'll just edit the last one, and let's see if I can do this another way. So the image source, okay, never mind. What I do is highlight it, and then I want this to be for my mailing, and then I will center, get the text, and I just want it to say sign up below. And then I'm done. And just one more thing I want to do is to okay, so as I actually just accidentally deleted that widget. If we go to the very top here, we can just undo. What I wanted to do was just highlight the box because I want to add a button. So we just add a simple button, and then this window just open asking for the text to put on the button. So that very first area had a link to all products, so I'll just put download now, put a destination for the button. Select whether I wanted to open a new window, and I can justify, center, align, choose the color of the button, and I want to use an orange button to grab attention. And again, instead of doing this 3 times, I can just duplicate, and then I can drag it over, and then I just need to change the text for this button, because this is for our About Us page. So I'll just put learn more. Done. Edit the other one, which is to go to our sign up page. I just want this to say sign up. Done. And publish. And if we just give it a second to update, and if we go ahead and view this page, okay, so one thing I forgot to do was I wanted this to be a full width page. I'm just going to go back and go back to our editor, change the default template to a full page, and to remove comments, track box, update, and then view the page. Refresh, and there you go. We have our landing page with our slider, basically our announcement about what the site is about, a link to our portfolio, products page, about page, assignment page, and you can do minor tweaks to this just to get the buttons to line up, but this is pretty nice if you ask me. And if you wanted to just get rid of this title, of course, WordPress adds the name of the page to the top. Then there is a plugin called Hide Title, which is free. It's in the WordPress repository, and it just adds this tab here where you can select hide title, and we update that. And the last thing I want to do is to go and customize. Pardon me. And I want to make this page our new home page. So if we now go back and click home, there you go. The title at the top of the page is gone. We have a slider, we have our columns, and this is just a beautiful layout that we were able to build with the Page Builder plugin. Okay, so in this video I just want to show you another quick feature of the Page Builder plugin. And if we go to New Pages and just select Add New, then what you can do, so after you've done all the hard work and created that beautiful layout, or any layout that you've customized, then if you just go over to the Page Builder tab, and of course you would put a name to your page, but I just want to show you this feature that says pre-built layouts. And if you click on that, then what you'll be able to do is basically clone a page that you've already created with the Page Builder plugin. So any page that you've created before would appear here in the drop down. So the name of the page that we just created was the home page. So if I click insert, and it's just going to give me a warning because it's going to overwrite whatever we have there, and in this case we don't have anything there, so it's perfectly fine. Then it will clone the exact layout with all the widgets and the columns and the settings that we had before. And if we just name this clone so that we can go and take a look at it. So as you can imagine, it did take us a little bit of time to get the settings and get the rows and the columns and everything exactly the way we wanted. But now that we've done that hard work, so if you have pages that you use a lot on your site, such as download pages, sales pages, landing pages, similar pages, any pages that you use a lot of that type of page, then it will be now so easy to clone the page. You don't have to start from scratch each time to get that perfect layout. And so I'll just hit publish. And remember, this is a brand new page. So really, in a matter of seconds or minutes, depending on how many changes you want to make to your new page, then I'll just open it in an incognito window. Then you will basically have an exact replica of the page that you already created. Oh, and I forgot to set it as a full width page. Let me just go back and do that. Default full page and update. But I just hope you see how useful this is. That once you've gotten the layout that you like, that you can just basically replicate it in seconds or minutes. And this will save you a lot of time. So there we have another page that looks exactly like the one that we've created before. And this is also very useful if you do split testing. So if you're testing a page for conversions and you want to change the header or any particular element of the page, then you just simply go into your editor, clone the page, and you just change. So I mean, you just edit these as you did before. So if you wanted to change the slider, just select a different slider. Done. If you just wanted to change some text or the button or the text on the button, you just edit, and then you just have a brand new page similar to the one before, but without starting from scratch. Another benefit of using the page builder plugin is that if you go to appearance, is that now all the widgets that are available within the page builder plugin can now be used on your sidebar and your footer areas and all your other widget areas. So essentially, even if you don't use it to build pages, you could just use it to just really customize your widget areas. So for example, if you wanted to add an image or some embed code, such as a video, or if you wanted to add your autoresponder, then you'd have to use this text widget. And then for example, if you wanted to add an image, you'd have to know a bit of HTML, to call on the source and all that. But what you can do now is just use this visual editor widget, drag it into your sidebar, and then you'll be able to create just about any content. Of course, you do have to keep in mind the size of your widget area, because not all types of content would be appropriate for the size of the widget area. But like I said, basically, you don't have to know any code now, because now you could just use the visual editor, add your images, add your text, style your text, add videos, and all these wonderful things. And of course, all the other widgets would be available, such as adding price tables, price boxes, the masonry layout for adding posts, galleries, embedding videos, all these additional widgets. You could just easily, testimonials, just drop them in, to your widget area without knowing any code and just easily customize them.